All right, so we're going to test today One More Night in Panic, a survival genre. I noticed that the number of survival games are coming out on PC, and they're starting to make the transition over into the roleplay market as well. So let's see if we can make a simplified theater of the mind style game here. Now, we're going to have Mike playing with me here, and he is going to make a character. Hi, Mike. And to make a character, you need a name. And most survivalists have a colorful nickname. So, Mike, what is your name and colorful nickname?
I'll just go with Red Cap. I will name myself after a 14th century goblin.
Sounds great. And we will also, Mike will start the game destined, which means whenever he rolls a die, and all the dice in the game are D6, he's going to add 1 to it. So if he rolls a 3, it will become a 4. Now he can lose that status through play. And Mike, you have 4 different character classes. You got bikers, you got wingnuts, you got doomsday preppers, and you got a culpable agent. Now, a culpable agent usually should have some reason that he caused the doomsday itself. In this place, if you play one, I'll add some sort of backstory to it, but probably just for testing, play a biker, wingnut, or doomsday prepper for us.
Okay, so the way I see it with these 4 character classes, my biker is pretty much my punchy guy.
Correct.
My doomsday prepper would be closest to a rogue, right? He's the guy who hoards things and stores things and is paranoid. So maybe
absolutely, and more of a gadgeteer, someone who is
gadgeteer. And your wingnut is probably your closest to your mage for fantasy comparison, and the culpable agent
is definitely that. Yes.
And the culpable agent is your jack of all trades.
Correct. And
so
there is no magic in the game, at least none that the survivalists will be able to use. But there is the idea that the wingnut is maybe more inspired and lucky.
Okay.
Because he won't be rolling on a table that is got some oddball things that can happen in it. And so, Mike, which type of character do you want to be? And just take a marker and underline it for us.
Normally, I would want to be a culpable agent because I like jack of all trades. But for this playtest, I'm going to go ahead and be a doomsday prepper because I see that there is a slightly different rule for everybody other than the culpable agent. And that'll let us test that.
That is correct. All right, so we're going to go right into the quest here. And there's of course, there is a page of 2-page role play. There's going to be a page for the referee on how, or GM, how he's going to organize himself in here. But we're going to go right into the quest. And it's going to seem odd at first, but you can tap yourself over to the quest page if you would, Mike, and I'll start the scenario.
Okay.
And it says this is going to be your life, Mike. Unfortunately, or Red Cap, you took a turn for the worse. And after your wife died 3 years ago, you accepted some prodding and decided it's been long enough, and you went on a cruise. The other passengers are dull, so you imagine something unsavory about all the different people on the boat. So here's a picture of a cruise. Rather mundane. I just grabbed it off a cruise website. And describe someone you see in the field here, and what was their ulterior motive for being on the ship?
Okay, so I'm assuming that I'm represented. That this is me.
You are actually your eyes. This is all first person to you.
Okay. Oh, I had a great story for this lady here with the blurred face in the middle. Okay. I'm going to look at these 2 people in the center here, and what I see is this couple in front of me, but what I notice about them is their faces are blurred while nobody else's is. Almost as if, almost like they're hard to notice, that there's something about them that makes them impossible to see or impossible to remember clearly. And now looking back, they stand out to me because I don't remember them clearly.
Interesting.
Even though they were closest to me.
So it wasn't just me trying to get around an actor's copyright of his face here. No, I'm teasing. Yes, in fact, Mike, what is unsavory about the 2 of them that suddenly they have this sort of ability that they are hard to be remembered? Are they secret agents, or are they aliens? Are they telepaths? Was it just the fact that
I was leaning more towards them being some sort of telepath or psychic,
Sure.
And that's the aura they're using, and they're celebrating something, right? Because they're clinking their glasses together. But look at the woman in her kind of her serape thing. She's almost got like a poncho on, and he's wearing like the quilted vest. They know that the disaster's coming, and they're already dressed for it.
Wow. So they're a little bit omniscient as well. Now suddenly they look at you, Mike, and they may become a little bit clearer, or maybe you realize that no, what you're thinking is a human form, but that's not a human form. And one of them, the woman, starts to pull out a revolver. So now what do you do as a prepper?
As a doomsday prepper? Let's see. Doomsday prepper means I'm a little bit more paranoid. Oh, let's just go right into, let's roll some dice. I think I'm going to try and take the weapon from her because A, she shouldn't have it on the boat, and B, she could use it to hurt me.
And you grab the weapon from her. Now the dice are actually optional in the game. The referee can use them to prompt different actions. In this case, if I go over to Mike's character sheet, I can see that, well, is this going to be a gunfight? Or is this going to be a spaz out? Or is this going to be a do something, do anything? In this case, I'm going to say that Mike, as a prepper, without a roll, can grab the gun from the character. Now, when you grab the gun from the character, they step back startled. And you still think that there's something odd about them. So what is your next action? Are you freaking out here? Is it does the gun accidentally go off? I don't want to feed you too much, but something tragic I think should happen here.
I have a couple of ideas. I'm gonna roll a die just to decide for myself.
Okay, you've got a list that you're going through your mind, and you're gonna play it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, a quick little mental checklist of options A, B, and C. I don't want to. I'll talk this through for the audience. I was kind of thinking the chances are, I think as a doomsday prepper, I'm probably a little bit more paranoid and a little bit more self-sufficient. So the three basic options are kind of withdraw, and maybe start looking for a lifeboat, which would have been 1, 2. Option 3, 4 would just be go paranoid and hold these people at gunpoint and call for security. Right. And then and 5, 6 would have been the more extreme option, which would have just been start shooting. But I've rolled a 1, so I'm going to withdraw from this situation, and I want to find a way to get off this boat.
Interesting. So you're going to retreat back, and they're retreating from you. Now, this isn't your firearm, but you are a prepper, so you probably know if the firearm is loaded, and it is, and you probably know if the firearm, what type of firearm. Let's just make it a revolver. It's easier for us to just picture.
Yep.
And as you back off, you notice that in the night sky, oh boy, we just suddenly transitioned pretty guard. Maybe you were hiding out on board for a little while. There is something that lights up the night sky and comes in an arc. And the path of descent is slower than what you expect. And the light then changes and makes a right-angled turn. A moment later, a huge explosion hits the water about a mile out. Your mind races and yet fixates on a wild explanation. So, what do you think happened, Mike? Run us a monologue in your mind. You still think it's aliens?
Obviously aliens. That's the people I took the gun from. They were aliens, and they know their cover's been blown, and now they're either calling for a pickup or they're accelerating their nefarious plans.
Interesting. Yeah, that all works for me. And then one more picture before we get in sort of the grizzle and the grist of this. So let me see. And this will be probably something that will pique your interest as a prepper.
Tidal wave.
And the wall of water approaches the ship. You only have minutes before the wave will crest, and you're pretty sure it's going to capsize the ocean liner. So what do you do to get yourself prepared for, that Poseidon adventure type moment where the ship might actually capsize?
Well, back in that first scene when I said I was going to withdraw and hide and look for a way off the ship and maybe prep a lifeboat, And
Correct.
since it's already nighttime, I've probably been doing that.
Yes,
So I think maybe a do something anything roll to see if I have successfully prepped a lifeboat and I can just take it and leave.
Well, let me see if a do something anything would be here. Mike is a seasoned referee, so he's always a step ahead of me. I think probably we're going to have to make a do something anything roll, and you're going to have to make a critical deed in order to get your lifeboat ready. So let's look at the character sheet and let's go down to that do something anything table. And Mike, give me a 2 dice as a prepper. Take the best and add 1 to each of the rolls.
Oh, I did not correctly build my 2d6.
That's okay.
I got a 6 and a 1.
There's also a pair of D6 right here at the top of the screen, Mike. You can see next to your classes.
Oh, no, I've already done the edit. Anyway, I've got
rolled
a
a
6
5,
and a 2.
which becomes a 6. Now, you don't have a choice of the two. You always have to take the greater one, because in some cases, the lower die roll may be the one you want. In this case, it's going to become a 6, which is perfect. You have a critical deed that you have completed, and you're going to end up on the beach.
Okay.
And let's see, you're going to be shipwrecked.
Before we move on to the beach, just for sake of argument, I must take the higher roll, but you just said a moment ago that there are lower results that I might want. And looking at the character sheet here, I see that result of 2, which was my option, would have been select any result on spaz out as result, perhaps pick a useful outcome.
That is correct, but you're not allowed to do that in the mechanics. You always take the higher of the result. So in the case of the spaz out that is underneath do something anything, it's more of a, oh gosh, at least I got that result, as opposed to constantly be moving people around the tables. And I'm going back to the quest here, Mike, and I want to show you the map that I made.
All right.
And you have ended up right where your coin is on the debris-filled beach. And it seems like, it seems like things have been pretty terrible for you. You're not sure how much time has passed. You have the boat that you assembled. It made the tidal wave pretty good. It was probably more of even a modern escape boat that could easily be capsized and resurface and pop up. So you have a little bit of gear and a little bit of supplies there that you can go back and rely on in case we need to use that. See if I got another beach here. I do. And we're going to go back and forth occasionally between these two. So, Mike, this is your situation. You're essentially the ship. Whatever is left of it's gone. And you also have the fact that you have very limited supplies. So if you had a first priority, you remember that you were in the Caribbean when all this happened. And it would seem like there's a number of islands in the Caribbean that would be large enough that you, on first landing, especially after a storm, it may be vacant. So you may find a hotel on the other side. You don't know. Yet there is something odd. The smell of the ocean is very strange. The sky seems to be an overcast, and it doesn't seem even, as we've transitioned from nighttime to day, that the stars don't even seem to be glimmering as bright as they used to be. And you should probably logically wait until it's fully into daytime. But you feel very anxious, and a phone and room service right now would be quite nice. So let's go back to that map of the island, and let's decide whether or not you're going to wait on the beach, Mike, or if you're going to move on with Redcap.
Okay. So in the Caribbean, and the stars are not correct, I should not have taken that cruise through the Bermuda Triangle. That was a mistake. It's always a mistake.
It's always a mistake in a survival game to enter the Bermuda Triangle. I would agree with you fully.
I knew better. Okay. I am on the debris beach. Now, the first priority on a shipwreck needs to be some sort of shelter. So I'm not going to wander the island looking for a hotel yet. With a lifeboat, I should have a little bit of rations, probably a flashlight. Wouldn't be surprised if I had some sort of fabric that I could use, and there's the debris-filled beach. So the first thing I think I would do is try and build like a shelter, like a lean-to or a tent or something. And then the second thing I'll want is water, so I'll be moving to the spring source.
Okay, so the lean-to of the beach would be easy enough. There's plenty of debris there. You also have the lifeboat itself that you could, rig some sort of hammock by pulling that further up in the beach. I'll give you all that. And now, as you move toward as you look out from the beach to the spring source, you realize that the jungle there is not that dense, but it will get dense later. And it is at night, even if you have a flashlight. How would you keep your bearings, north, south, east, and west, just in general?
There's probably a compass in the lifeboat. I would assume that a lifeboat would have something like that.
I'll give you that. Yeah, there's probably a lifeboat compass.
Yeah, so that'll help me on my north, south, east, west. So
put yourself in the scene, Mike. Give us your mental picture of the whole thing as you weigh your options.
Okay.
Try to speak less to me and speak more to other people and yourself.
Yeah. So I'm on the debris-filled beach. I'm going to have
dark.
Something to. Yeah,
it's muggy. You don't have bearings. There's no North Star you can see.
Yeah. So fortunately, I have the compass for north, south, east, west.
You do.
I'm going to need some sort of weapon because a doomsday prepper always wants a weapon. In a survival game, you need a weapon. There probably isn't anything that useful on the lifeboat, so I should be looking on the debris for maybe shards of metal or anything that I can kind of make into an ersatz knife.
Okay, let's go ahead and make a roll for that. Why don't we go over to your character and give us a roll under do something, anything, critical deed. Or at your option, you could do it and spaz out, although you're not as good on that.
Now, do something, anything, I'm better at that. So I have a 5.
No, a 5 says it's risky and a gamble. So if you decide to roll this again, if you roll a 5, it's going to treat it as a 3, and you're going to cut yourself on that metal. So you realize that you probably need a good set of work gloves, too, and there's nothing to be found like that. So your choice. If you want to press this issue to make yourself some sort of a harpoon or a spear or just a good old-fashioned a shiv, you're going to have to take a risk here. So is it worth it to you? I mean, I've got to emphasize again as the referee that your first impression may be that you think you saw aliens and that the alien ship landed. But are you alone in the world at the moment? I mean, you could just explore the island.
I could explore the island, and I will explore the island. But I think the Doomsday Prepper, I'm leaning into the Prepper thing there. You got to be armed before you go explore the island, in case I do run into aliens or something. And I still have the revolver, but if I want to get into the dense jungle, I might need something to start slicing through the vegetation. So I think this do something, anything to try and make my ersatz blade is worth doing. For sake of color, I would, grab some of the thicker leaves and kind of try and wrap them around my hands just to provide a little bit of protection. For game terms, it won't, but, at least make the effort. And
I'll be part of your inner dialogue here, and I'll be saying, are you sure you're not just being overly paranoid?
Possibly, but I've made my decision, and I'm going to...
All right, give me a do something, anything roll again, critical deed, to try to get yourself some sort of work gloves. Easily made, +1, you're going to go ahead and have a 7 there. So now you got a set of work gloves, and I'll take away the fact that you rolled that previous risky 5. Did you want to now fashion your weapon with the same rolls, 2 dice?
I do. And hey, another 6-4.
And it's 6-4 backed up by 6-4. So Red Cap has himself a set of gauntlets and some sort of rudimentary weapon that can act like a machete. Is there anything else you think you would need before you leave? Again, that guilty conscience that I'm playing here thinks, well, you probably should. Rope is always useful. And it looks like there's a bundle. there's a bundle of rope there that may actually be useful to grab up, and a water bottle may be useful.
Ah, there we go. Yes, definitely take the rope, the water bottle. There should be some sort of dried food in the lifeboat, so you can at least
grab
one day's worth of food. Let me think. Rope. I got a knife. I got a water bottle. I see a thing down there. It looks like a martini shaker.
Yeah,
kind of in the lower right hand
corner.
Can
be your water bottle. So, and you can.
Doesn't it look like a kind of like
some sort of
sling?
There's not a whole lot of loose thing, but there is a little bit of a net there for something. So maybe you can make yourself some sort of a pouch with the. But we're not gonna have a basket weaving class here before you get on with it. Let's go back to the Castaway Island map, and from the debris beach, I'm gonna put you on shore for a second. And there's roughly, I think, 3 paths that you can take. You can head toward the jagged rocks. You could head up the slope toward the dormant volcano, you would hope, or you can head over along the beach and try to make it back to that spring source.
Spring source first.
Okay. So you wander down the beach until it becomes too rocky and cuts itself off. There's not a good sandy beach around the whole thing. Eventually, you're going to have to go in a little bit, and you're going to be heading toward the spring source. Now, as I look at the spring source, suddenly something seems out of place. And I don't know, is it a bear? You see something, it's odd. The trees seem a little different. They don't seem like normal palms or the type of brush that you would have on an island. And there's this bear type of creature. I mean, maybe I'll play the logic side of you, saying you might have ended up in a game preserve or a zoo. But so, what do you do? Do you avoid the creature? Do you? You certainly probably don't need to kill it because you got dry food.
That looks like it doesn't look like a bear. It almost looks like a giant sloth. I'm looking at those extended claws on the trees.
What you're telling me you're seeing an animal that's been extinct for tens of thousands of years? How would that happen?
I have no idea unless I've traveled in time. So looking at this photo, is that are you reading that as light sand around the creature's feet, or is that snow?
Yeah, light. No, not snow. Light sand around the creature's feet. Yeah.
The snow on a Caribbean island would be very strange indeed, even stranger than this creature.
Oh, that would be definitely like a Pangea type event. But you would have no. That's definitely a sand, even if it doesn't read as sand. Okay. And it also is the fact that this is just not an animal that you should be seeing at this moment.
It's not, and I don't want to mess with it because it's big and it looks different from anything I've ever seen. And what was that? About 8-9 feet long, just for scale.
Yes, absolutely. It was it was oversized.
So those claws on that forepaw were a good 8 inches long. I don't want to tangle with that. Right.
It seems tame enough, but I think your instincts tell you it's not friendly. Now, you do see the spring source, so you can fill your water bottle, and so now you got food and water, and you got a sort of a defensible position back at the beach. Where would you head to next from here? It's still somewhat at night. Not fully daylight yet. You certainly can retreat and wait till dawn if you wish.
Retreat to the debris beach and wait till dawn is, that's. I have food, I have water, now I can sleep. I have shelter, food, and water, and a weapon. Now I can sleep.
I think that probably would be the best thing. So sunlight comes around. You start to see that those jagged rocks over to the west. There's a lot of glass-like shards in there, as if it had been recently baked in a volcanic reaction. And you also notice that the jungle to the very south is incredibly dense. It's going to take more than your machete to cut through that. Although you probably, if you made an attempt or if you wanted to, you could probably retreat to it to get away from something chasing you. But what could be chasing you on the island besides that large mutated bear?
Well, it's a volcanic island, obviously, because there's a volcano.
Right.
So if I move towards the volcano or the jagged rocks, I could probably find obsidian, and obsidian can be used to make larger weapons.
Okay.
If I had to. For the home audience, I'm just not sure if I want to explore towards the volcano, figuring look at the high ground and see what's around me, or if I want to move west across the jagged rocks and kind of explore the edges of the island. So I'm just going to roll a single die 6, and on an even, I'm going to head to the volcano. Odd, I'm going to head towards the rocks.
Okay.
Odd, I'm going to move towards the rocks.
Okay, so you're deciding that the rocks would be the better way to go. I mean, you got decent boots and shoes, so yeah. It's not going to be it shouldn't be a great deal of problem. Now the jagged rocks, if you cross them during the daylight, you do not need to make a roll. But if you decided to cross them in the nighttime, it would probably require a roll. Now the jagged rocks, I don't think I actually have any sort of picture to bring up for jagged rocks. You're just gonna, let me see if I can paint a picture for you. It's a typical scene of a volcanic landscape, but instead of tiny, small, eroded volcanic pieces, these are really, as I said, more. You brought up the word obsidian. These are obsidian chunks, and some are slick, some are fragmented, so that you don't want to fall into them. If you're going to cross those jagged rocks, I won't make you make a roll, but if you have to flee into that area, then we're going to start to look at something that's going to be difficult. Now, from here, you can see the fact that it looks like there's an old wooden wreck out on the point, and you may see the remains of a World War II bunker off to the west. There's a higher step, and of course, the volcano is there, and there's no plume coming out of the volcano. So where to from here, Redcap?
I'm certainly going to keep an eye out for a couple of good pieces of obsidian that would make something like a spear point. I'm not necessarily going to pick it up at this point.
Okay.
If I head back during the day, that'll be something I'll try and take back to my beach. And I'm assuming with the jagged rocks, and I'm looking at the colors of this map. So I'm just kind of assuming that the things that are more orangey or yellow, that there's not a lot of vegetation.
Yes, sparsely vegetated on the toward the north, more denser vegetation, and then the densest vegetation are in front of the World War II bunker. You can see the dots, and over in the dense jungle. Yeah, and as it says on the top here, I got this off of a map generator online. Great service.
Yeah. So where I am, I'll just kind of identify some obsidian to use later, but I'm not going to use it right now because I don't have any wood. But I do want to keep working over towards what looks like that shipwreck, because if it's a partial ship, it might have some supplies, and even maybe something between that and my cruise ship lifeboat, something that'll get me out of here.
Okay. So you're going to make your way over to the wooden shipwreck.
Yeah.
And as you get closer, you start to see that the shipwreck, it looks like the Mayflower. It looks like one of these restoration pieces that if this was a Caribbean island, perhaps this was and the whole beach area looks a little bit windswept, the same way that your debris beach is. Maybe not as cluttered, but you head toward the wooden ship, and you wonder, there's no sort of dock, and there's no sort of port or civilization around it. It's starting to look more and more like it's a wooden shipwreck, some sort of Spanish galleon type of thing. And how close do you want to get, Mike?
As close as possible.
Close as possible.
Now, it looks like, looking at that shoreline, before we move the coin, sure, it looks like I'd have to move down that way, and this is just me pointing out to you as a ref. It looks like to get to that wooden shipwreck, I might have to go into the sphere of influence of that bunker if you had.
No, I'll give you the fact you can get across it.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I see that Xena icon at the bottom of the map, and I know it's going to come into play at some point.
There's a Xena icon at the bottom of the map. That probably is is left over from the play test that we were going to run with in fantasy. Let me get rid of that so there's no confusion. Bye, Xena. And as we go to the wooden shipwreck here, I take it you want to go aboard. You hear noises, almost maybe some musical notes.
That's just got to be the wind moving through the hollows, or maybe.
Oh, that's my job to give you the sensible answers. What, as a prepper, what are you expecting as you enter this boat?
I don't know, but I'm going to have my revolver out to be ready for it. Well, was not expecting that.
So you enter on board and you find a non-human. Maybe it validates your theory that aliens are involved with this, and a rudimentary chemistry set, and someone working by candlelight. And as soon as they see you, they turn very startled. The eyes open. You seem to have some either it's anthropomorphism or it's actually their emotions and their reactions are very similar to humans. You have startled this, let's call him a professor. So you've startled the professor, and you have your gun out, and he seems to glance from you to the gun and then back at you, and he's trying to get a read on you, and he puts one hand out and sort of in a fashion that you seem to read as don't shoot me, put the firearm down, or at least lower it. Now, what do, Redcap?
I motion with the gun to have him move away from those chemicals and that candle on the table.
Okay.
I'm not going to start shooting
He
yet.
seems to react to that correctly. Yeah, sure.
And I want to go over to the table and look at his gear and see if it's anything that I can identify, or even just have any chance of figuring out what he's doing.
Huh. It looks as if he is just mixing different chemicals and watching the reactions. It does not seem to have any logic or any manufacturing process. It's more tests.
What could he be testing? I don't know. That is a pretty freaky face.
You're going to put a bullet in that freaky face or not yet?
I don't think I'm going to put a bullet in that freaky face just yet, but I think I'm going to try and get the thing to sit down and maybe tie him up, since I've got some rope.
Ah, okay. So you get the thing to sit down, and as you approach, it's going to get nervous. So in order to tie him up, I'm probably going to force you to make a roll, because the professor is going to struggle against that. I also would give you an option to use the spaz out ability and maybe get some critical insight. So let's go over to your character sheet here and look and see where those two rolls would take us. So
okay.
with a spaz out roll, you can gain that critical insight, which is sort of like a referee, give me a better explanation of what's going on here. Or with the do something anything, you would perform that critical deed to render the professor unable to attack you. So which would you like to start with, or none or neither?
Well, my plan here was to tie him up and then try to interrogate him, so I guess in theory that was trying to do a do something anything followed by a spaz out?
I think that probably would be the correct order. So why don't you go ahead and give me 2 dice, do something anything.
Oh, a 3. He apparently fights me.
Well, it's a grazing injury, yeah, so they even fight. And you have lost your destined status. Now you can regain that through dialogue in the game. So if you meet somebody that is important to the plot, or you can make some sort of critical insight to gain more information on the plot, you could possibly restore that status. But right now, no, you took an injury, Mike. A second injury would result in your death. Now, do you want to run from the area and leave this person be? Or did you want to try again on the do something anything? But now, rolling a 5 twice is going to put you at a 3, or a second 3. You're still rolling 2 dice and taking the
Okay, well, let's go back to the do something anything. I took the grazing injury. Was that true? Are we ruling that was maybe through my own error? Maybe the professor's skin is hot or has some sort of
the professor's skin is not
I didn't know about, or if it was him fighting me back.
Let me paint the scene for you. So as you approached, you're nervous. You're running on adrenaline. This is also new to you. You go to try to motion for the professor to move his arms behind his back. He moves one behind the back, and with the other one, he sort of knocks one of the glassware off the table. It could be by accident because you weren't paying attention to that, and it wasn't paying attention to that, or he knew it as a good feign. And as you look at the chemical reaction, he takes the rest of the glassware on the table and tosses it at you with his swinging arm, and it might even have wounded him, and it definitely caused a wound to you, an injury that certainly, if you take a second one, it's going to become more serious.
So he definitely attacked me on that one. So let's make a die roll on the gunfight table because it's time to shoot this guy.
So you're interpreting the actions of the professor as hostile. Give me a die roll. It's a single die roll for you on the gunfight table. Go ahead, Mike.
Right. So if I were a biker at this point, I'd roll 2d6 and take better. If I were a wingnut, I'd roll the 2d6 and take lower. But I am a doomsday prepper, so I just roll a single d6. That was a recap for the home audience. Let's roll well. And a 3 out of ammo. Obviously, it was a revolver and it got wet, obviously, and we forgot to check that back at the beach.
You fired, paint the scene for me, Mike. What happened with this? You were in a gunfight and you're now out of ammo. How elaborate did this gunfight become? Go ahead and sell it to me.
We could go with as the professor runs out of the room that I pull the trigger several times and glassware shatters in slow motion and holes get punched in the thing, but
terrific.
We'll go with that because that's more fun than just the gun got wet and it's a dud.
Well, you can say the gun got wet and that none of that happened. That's perfectly fine. I don't want to.
If we were playing this out for a full evening or starting a campaign, the safer, duller option would be more fun, but this is a demo for the home audience, so let's pull the trigger and have glass explode in slow motion and blow a couple of holes in the wood and give you something dynamic to build out of.
You're going Michael Bay on us, which is fine. It's a great way to play these type of games. And you've also suggested that he was the professor was running from the area. Is he out of your sight? Did he disappear? What happened to him, do you think?
I'm sure he's out of sight. Whether or not he's intimidated by me, big loud bang bang, he seemed to recognize the gun. He certainly, if I start firing at him, it's a threat. I don't know if he's completely fled the ship. I don't know if he's just ducked out to the room and is waiting for me in the hallway. This was apparently his home turf, but so he's certainly out of my sight.
When you do a cursory search of the wooden ship, you find parts of it have been repaired in very good fashion, and parts of it are not as decayed as you would expect if this was an authentic galley that had been marooned on the beach here for several hundred years since the Age of Sail. So it's leaving you with another puzzle. It doesn't obviously the appearance of the alien sort of makes your initial assumption 100% true, that something happened aboard. There were aliens involved. The alien ship or some sort of doomsday device was activated, and you ended up on this island alive, but they didn't want you alive, I don't think.
They never do. They never do. As a player, I think we've got a time travel element here. I don't think Redcap is twigged to that yet.
Okay.
So I won't make that assumption yet. Although maybe the not bear, the thing that looked like a giant sloth, maybe that's twigged in Redcap's brain, because that's what made me think time travel. But yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I'm going to let you go ahead and look around this the cabin area, and you will find some rudimentary books that almost look like they're high school biology books. Now, you can't read the script they're written in. In fact, some of them probably are of a PDF or a Kindle type of variety, maybe even more high tech than that. But you have like a series of picture books that describes, and this is definitely a three-toed sloth, which has been extinct from your perspective for 50,000 years probably.
Mm-hmm.
And we go back to the the quest page, and let me put our map back up. So you know what they say in First Blood, Mike Rambo. Hey, you drew First Blood here, so you can argue all you want that the professor attacked you first, but you emptied your pistol at it. So what's your next move? You can try to get more ammo. I don't know what that village is. If this is, you got an inkling that things are sort of wrecked in time. If things are wrecked in time, that village you might be able to buy munitions there. Why they wouldn't be fighting the aliens either? It's a lot of mystery going on here. Where to, Redcap?
First I want to take a couple of those picture books and use some of the tarp or the stuff that I grabbed off the beach and see if I can pocket it or pouch it up.
Sure.
Because I'm going to want to study those books later. Can I assume that I can't read the whatever script is on the professor's chemicals, that I can't identify what those are?
I will let you try. It could be a risk, but it may not be a risk. If you go over to your character sheet, if you make a spaz out roll and get a critical insight, you're only going to be roll. For you, it's 2 dice take the lower.
Yep.
So I would not risk that myself, but you can 2 dice take the lower. If you happen to get that double 6 for a critical insight, you would probably, I will tell you more of the plot. But otherwise, until you get your destined back, I would not make that roll.
Yeah, I mean, a 6 would be good. Even a 2 might be okay. Flashback. Might give me something, but I'd lose my destined status. Space blood sugar low just means I need to go back to the beach and eat.
Yes.
How much time have we killed on this? Are we still morning, afternoon, or
we are approaching probably noon.
Okay. Being out of ammo, I don't think I want to move towards that village yet. I think I'll look for that World War II bunker, because if it is a World War II bunker, it might have ammunition. We haven't determined what type of revolver it is, but it's probably a 9mm or a 45, and either of those would be calibers that might be found in a World War II bunker.
It's well reasoned, sure.
You know.
Now, I would assume that you're probably going to. You're not going to storm the place, not with an empty pistol. But no. Did you want to try to stealth up on it? I will let you make a roll on your do something and see if you can get a critical deed on that. 2 dice, please. And you're no longer healed. And a 6 easily. So you are, in fact, if you had been viciously wounded, you could also eliminate that. And we move back to our quest map, and you move up to toward the World War II bunker. Now, it looks like when you get there that the World War II bunker, you have sort of misunderstood what it was. You were expecting when there was a concrete casement and maybe some an antenna out of the top of it, or some sort of barrel type of instrument coming out the front that even looked like it might be decayed. As you get closer and closer, you realize that this looks more like a bunker compound. So if you enter this bunker compound, and now is not a bad time to do it, you are definitely moving yourself closer to an end game situation here, Mike.
I might find Amish.
You may find the Amish, yes. I would have run that whole thing in this mechanics for you, Mike, but that would have probably taken several weeks of gaming. So did you want to push, we're about 45 minutes into here. If you push into here, we definitely will get to a conclusion. And, in fact, why don't we just push that?
Let's push into there, and we'll find out.
I will do sort of a montage of things. If you had gone to the Turtle Cove, you would have seen that there are turtles there, and also some sort of whale. What is it? Crustacean? Not crustacean.
Cetacean.
Thank you. A creature off the shore there that would definitely confirm the fact that you are at least 20,000 years earlier than you thought.
That square distortion, is that intentional?
No, it's just probably a bad graphic that I created.
Well, I thought that might be the Land of the Lost portal to go out, right? If that was
that would be funny, but no, it's not the land. And if you had gone up into the high steps, you would have run into this bad boy, and we would have needed to fight that a little bit. But we're not there, and so when you enter the World War II bunker, you find yourself in this environment, and it is a bunch of orifices that you can wander in and out of that just stink of the mothership in some sort of alien type of encounter. And eventually, you're going to be approached by another type of professor, except the environment is different. This one probably is not wearing the old-timey tie. This one is wearing more of a spacesuit. And there is no chemistry lab here. We're more looking at the image of the person's face. And the person that you're facing, the alien you're facing, is at least 3 times taller and more statuesque than the one you met before.
Okay.
So, and you have an empty pistol, and you've entered into an alien mothership. And the alien that approaches you seems to be clicking and buzzing and looking for a reaction from you. And what do you do after that?
I mull over the fact that tactically I would have been smarter to go back to the beach, pick up some obsidian, and make my spear since I have an empty pistol now.
I'll give you a spear. Sure.
No, I didn't have it. I have my knife.
You can predator this. You can try to stab the big alien here. You can tell sort of that the alien is curious about you and a little bit irritated by your presence.
We're in one of those things where, as a player, 9 times out of 10, I would want to try and communicate and talk to the creature.
Sure.
Because, it could be doing something perfectly benign in my presence here in the whole storm. It could be a complete and utter accident. But since this is a survivalist game and I'm playing the Red Cap, the Doomsday Prepper, and since we're doing a short demo for the home audience, we should just go ahead and, go completely paranoid and try and stab the guy and push this towards Nash and climax.
Okay, so you're going to stab the large alien. Absolutely. Let's stab the large alien. And I'm going to go to your character sheet here.
And
we're going to
the spaz out table, right?
Well, it's the gunfight table. Yeah, you can do anything to try to cripple it and get yourself the advantage of being destined again. I'll let you do that first as an advantage, Mike. Give me 2 dice.
Oh, right. Do anything. Throw some of the obsidian chunks I picked up earlier to do something with it, because those are sharp. I'm going to try and hit it.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, it seems to when you smash the obsidian into one of the panels or into one of its handheld devices that was left on what would look like a table, a console, it gets very irritated with that and starts to step back from you to try to get you calm. But you're not going to go calm. You're going to go full crazy on the thing. Give me a anything roll. Or was that your roll there?
1 and a 1. So
1 and a 1. That's a vicious wound, Mike, which may be apropos for you attacking the aliens here. It does not knock you out, but you don't have that do something anything, and I'm afraid we're going to have to force you to continue the battle that you started. So maybe the alien is going to reach out and grab you with one of its large hands and break your arm. So now what do you do?
Ooh, well, at least by coming in and breaking my arm, it's gotten closer. I don't have to throw things at it anymore.
Sure.
Stabby.
Yeah. Describe where you hit it. Eye, ear, and throat.
Ooh. I might not necessarily want to kill it. I might still want to get it alive to try and interrogate it. So I'm going to try and actually stab it in the knee.
In the knee, sure, yeah, and one of its joints.
Throwing things at the ankles, and now I'm trying to. So what I'm trying to do is bring it down so that it can't run. Yeah.
Go ahead and give me 2 dice.
Another do something roll.
Yes.
Okay. 5 and a 4.
5 and a 4 is the best of that is going to be a risky gamble. So you're going to either have to shift to a gunfight and try to kill it, and it's not nuclear born. It would be more like a high threat, which means you need a 5 on gunfight with 1 die, or you're going to roll do something anything, trying to still get that critical deed to incapacitate it. Your choice, Mike.
Try one more time for that critical deed.
Okay.
Looks like, I mean, either way, I've got, my odds are better on do something anything still.
Probably, sure.
3 and a 6.
3 and a 6, and the 6 is what's going to count. So you got that critical deed. You've now immobilized the thing, and you see the thing as you're sort of on top of it, ready to put this piece of obsidian, into its skull if it moves. It mumbles at you some strange words, and it's looking for something like it starts saying different words like parlez-vous and sprechen and English.
Or what I would, or in the R-rated movie, R-rated cut, English mofo.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. It's what does YouTube care? English. Well, why didn't you say that in the first place, you moron? God, you messed up my knee. I'm gonna have to spend a week in hibernation. Who are you?
You messed up my hand.
Who are you?
Who are
Come
you?
on.
Who are you? And
Oh, no. You either put me out of my misery or you answer the questions. And when I say, who are you? When the hell were you born?
When was this guy born? 1987. What's it to you?
1987. In which calendar? Is that like Roman or Aztec, or are you talking a year of a lord?
American calendar.
American calendar. Oh my gosh. I thought I would be dealing with some wingnut here. You are not supposed to be born for another 20,000 cycles around the sun. What are you doing here?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Tell me what happened to you in the last 24 hours, one circumference of this planet.
I was on a boat. There was a storm. I got in a lifeboat. I washed up here.
I think that's only half the story.
I think that's all I wanted.
Nothing strange happened. I'm thinking my son was involved with this nonsense, wasn't he?
Unless your son has a lot more hair than you, I can't see how it could be.
Our species doesn't have any hair. You did not see my son. He's he's probably your size, but he's an infant. Well, I brought him back here to study the geology and the ecology of your early species. He wouldn't come without his playhouse. I had to move that whole ship out here.
You're referring to the wooden ship.
A wooden ship, yeah, a wooden ship. You had a whole era of those wooden ships, you morons.
You got nothing to do with what happened on the cruise ship.
What on the cruise ship? Yes, I understand cruise ship. I'm probably double your intelligence. So you were on a cruise, you were going through the Caribbean, and then suddenly something happened, and you ended up 20,000 years in the past. What do you think? It's the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, yes. Of course,
well,
Mr.
Bermuda Triangle.
Are you making
fun? Now, is my son responsible for this or not? Or are you telling me that you're a time traveler from the future, that you developed some sort of temporal machine?
No, it's your son.
Okay, did you want to go home or not?
I do.
You do.
Character thinks it's the son. As a player, you might have another layer to this onion, but we're not going to get there today.
No, and so he's going to go ahead and make sure we're going to end this scenario with you alive, going back with some sort of knowledge of a greater universe at work. But yes, this was just a Twilight Zone episode, Mike, where I was just going to have that the sun. You were the one that brought up the aliens right at the beginning. He's sort of omniscient. And the son was simply just goofing off from his work and accidentally, was flying with the spaceship and changed time, destroyed your cruise ship, and you were sucked along with it.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't kill the sun, or we would not have had a peaceful resolution.
Correct. If you can even kill these sort of aliens, a little piece of bullet traveling at supersonic speed, that's going to kill anything? What, do you think this is Traveler?
Yeah. So before we wrap this up for the home audience, I want to point of order thing because it may lead to you changing some wording.
It may be editorial. I might edit it out, but go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, but if you make the change based on what I say here, you might leave it in. So let's look on gunfight roll 2 and do something roll 3. Grazing injury happens again, you die.
Yes.
But vicious wound, any more injury, you die. So I'm not seeing a difference here between a grazing and a vicious wound. Maybe grazing injury happens again, take vicious. And then
so grazing injury happens again on that table, you die. Recover after you eat. Vicious wound. Any more injury, you die. Recover after adventure.
Okay, so I could have. So that was me not reading my one page, and I didn't read it carefully enough.
So
I could
it's fine. It's a good point of order. So you had actually suffered a vicious wound when you rolled that double ones. So you were any injury more, and we would have been burying you in the Neolithic age.
But what I could have done after the failure, or after fighting the Professor Junior, if I'd gone back to the beach and said, okay, I'm going back to the beach and I'll explore somewhere else, and then gone back there and eaten, I could have gotten rid of the grazing injury.
A grazing injury you could,
because I had it.
But a vicious wound, you would have to do some sort of, surgery on yourself, and that's under do something, anything 6+, perform critical deed to continue the progress, remove the obstacle, or remove a vicious.
Okay, so that first grazing injury I could have gotten rid of by going to eat, and then the second vicious wound was fighting the big one. So
correct. Cool. Yes. Okay. Well, thanks, Mike. I appreciate your help testing this. I think it was pretty good. When I listened to the playback, maybe I'll add some sound effects to it. But thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, and we'll see you on our regular Wednesday game.
Have a good evening.